The tunnel they exit is from the First Division. For one of these sides, the tunnel through which they return will lead into the Premiership. From east to west, the breadth of the country, the Norfolk folk have travelled. And what was the M5 invented for, if not to bring blues fans to Cardiff? Stern John's goal took them here. Ipswich relegated yesterday. They're an hour and a half away from a utopian weekend. They just want to mix it with Villa. The presentation party is made up of Philip Williamson, Chief Executive of the Nationwide Building Society, Keith Harris in front there, Chairman of the Football League, and David Burns, Chief Executive of the Football League. Jeff Kenner will do the introductions for Birmingham. Captain, in a sense by default. Darren Purse had the armband removed mid-season when he stalled over a new contract. He is suspended anyway today. Steve Vickers took over but got injured. Kenner stepped in. They went on a winning run, so he keeps the job despite Vickers' return. This is a team 12 unbeaten. They, of course, are the favourites. The noise from their supporters is immense. Keep right on till the end of the road. The road has nearly ended. Fine leader, though he proved to be. Malky Mackay, who's doing the business there for Norwich, is also a third-choice captain. Paul Emblin is still recovering from an injury sustained on day one in August. His designated deputy, Ewan Roberts, has missed about half the season too. But Mackay's goals and gallant defending are the major reason why his colleagues there are here. Gary Holt there, player of the season. David Nielsen, they'll look to him for goals today. And there is Big Ewan towards the end of the line, a Welshman who knows this stadium better than anyone else on show today. And Nigel Worthington, who actually made his international debut in Cardiff for Northern Ireland. Karen Brady with her husband, Mr. Piscasolido. Lawrence Robinson will lead the singing of the national anthem. So, who has a side fit for the Premiership? Well, Birmingham have just 3 in their 11 who have played in it before. Tommy Mooney, Captain Jeff Kenner and Steve Vickers, who actually began this season in the Premiership with Middlesbrough. It is a considerable boon that Michael Johnson, who's been missing for the last 5 weeks, is fit to partner Vickers because Darren Purse is suspended. Actually, there are plenty of centre-halves. so many that has the great effect at Millwall in the semi-final. Olivier Tebelier is deployed in midfield. It has quickly become Steve Bruce's own team, this. Only 3 of the starting side began the League Cup final under Trevor Francis here last spring, Ron.
Yes, they'll play a 4-4-2. As you say, Tebelier will go into midfield. His job will be to try and break up Holton, Mulryan, stop them getting their passing movements going. Have a look at Tommy Mooney. I don't think he's a natural left-sided player, but he's somebody when crosses are coming in from the right-hand side, he likes to join the strikers and get beyond the far post. Very dangerous in the air.
Birmingham 12 games unbeaten. Norwich now 5 games unchanged. Dane David Nielsen is over the groin injury which caused him to hobble off in the Molineux semi. Otherwise not broke, don't fix it. So semi-fit talisman Ewan Roberts still only gets a seat on the bench as so often here for Wales. That leaves a mere smattering of top-flight experience. Phil Mulryan, 1 game for Manchester United. Paul McVeigh, 3 for Spurs. Clint Easton and a decade back Craig Fleming for Watford and Oldham respectively. Assembled for a relative pittance this lot, a collection of canaries that went cheap. What do they do right, Ron?
They're a very, very well organised side. Nigel Worthington's done wonders with them. They're once again 4-4-2, slightly different. As soon as they lose possession, watch them all drop deep. 2 banks of 4, they'll make it very, very hard for Birmingham to play through. Have a little look at the number 6, Nielsen. Outstanding pace.
Referee today is Graham Barber. He trains in Hertfordshire with England's World Cup official Graham Poll. He's had charge of a charity shield before, but no domestic fixture of greater consequence than this. No special arrangements. He sticks to his long-held superstition of wearing 2 pairs of socks. Nigel Worthington, 18 years ago today, completed the first of his 2 Sheffield Wednesday promotion seasons by winning in Cardiff, up in 84 under Howard Wilkinson, again in 91 under Big Ron here. For Steve Vickers, playoff experience is distant. He lost at Wembley with Tranmere 12 years ago. Incidentally, this is only his 2nd game back after 11 weeks out. Tommy Mooney won at Wembley with Watford only 3 years back, and will be a particular concern to Norwich today, having hit a hat-trick against them in the league meeting at St Andrews in December. On the Norwich side, Mark Rivers felt some sadness, I know, at the recent demotion of Crewe, with whom he was promoted via a Wembley playoff final. 1 more match in the English domestic football season, 1 more place in the Premiership. The 557th game of the First Division campaign, the repechage, the last chance to win a position in the highest society, the top grade of English football, which has done without Norwich's parochial charms for 7 years, and without Birmingham's self-effacing gallows humour for more than twice that long. Tonight, one of them will be back. Do you have a hunch, Ron?
The only hunch I can come up with is going to be one hell of a tight game. It really is, both teams in good form. There's not, for me, a hair's breadth between them. For me, if the hunch was, I wouldn't be surprised to see us looking at penalties at the end of the game.
Michael Johnson finding touch with his first clearance, though that wasn't a sure-footed start. His return is key for Birmingham. Some of his performances at the heart of their defence have been sturdiness itself.
Looking at the pitch, just having a look, the pitch is in perfect nick, and I would have thought that would have suited. I know Norwich like to get hold of the ball and pass it around and keep the ball a lot longer than maybe Birmingham. Birmingham probably tried to get into their front players earlier, and this fella's going to make the things happen. They've got an injury down at the moment, but Holt will be a major player. The boys in the studio were talking about it earlier. He will be a major player.
Adam Drury's gone down there, and it would be awful for him if he were to have sustained a bad injury. He was in a playoff final with Peterborough a couple of years ago and got a kick in the head, had to go off before half-time. Can't remember a thing about the day, and was so looking forward to this day as a consequence largely of that. And it seems that he crashed into his own man there, Clint Easton.
Yeah, noticing that, we had a message through earlier that since they've closed the roof, they reckon the pitch has started sweating, and maybe as Easton went in there, he appeared to slip, and it'd be interesting to see whether the players, when we were on it earlier, it was lush. I just want to know whether it might be a little bit greasy for them.
Sweats up a bit. Well, Drury is okay, which will be a personal relief for him, and indeed a team relief for Norwich, because he is one of the outstanding fullbacks in the First Division. Forward by Brian Hughes towards Jeff Horsfield.
Major problem there, Peter. Gary Holt caught heavily as he went through, and Gary Holt's limping very badly. He's one they cannot do. They've got to have him on the park all the while.
Kenner, the Birmingham captain, with their throw. Aimed in towards Horsfield, who's closed down by Mackay, and there is a way out for Drury. Nielsen is the chaser. Johnson had to commit and did so bravely. They came to Devlin. Easton has stayed with it. Hughes, Devlin. Free kick Birmingham. Gary Holt, the culprit.
A good football there. There's a great little link up between Devlin and Hughes there on the edge of the box. And of course, they've got a player there who's squeezed in between them. Holt probably feels a bit aggrieved at that one, but what an opportunity this is for Granger. What was the sign we saw earlier? Beckham bends it like Granger. This will be interesting.
This is one of the outstanding left feet of the Nationwide League. It belongs to Martin Granger. It has been lethal from set pieces this season. It is Martin Granger, and it didn't dip for him. His was the free kick against Sheffield United on the last day of the regular season, which clinched their playoff place. It was from that very spot. Played in all three of Birmingham's semi-final defeats. He also lost on penalties in a playoff with Brentford against Huddersfield 7 years ago. He's had no luck. There's Granger's header. This is Kenton for Norwich at right full-back. He's played all the way across the back four this season. Granger for John, and then Tedderley. Paul Devlin, who's signed for Birmingham for the second time in his career this week, having been on loan from Sheffield United.
I think we saw an instance then of how vital Jeff Horsfield is to Birmingham. They do try to play things into him, and he does hold the ball up very, very well. Encourages midfield players to get involved, and of course it gives Stern John a chance to get past him to get into the box. He'll have, although the result was disappointing, I think Horsfield will have good memories of this ground. I thought he was outstanding last year against Liverpool in the Worthington.
Kenton wanted it back from Mulrine, whose touch was indicative perhaps of early nerves. Northern Ireland international, a man who was brought up on the youth system at Old Trafford, no better education. Granger's throw quick for John, away from Mulrine. Left out Hughes and introduced Kenner from fullback. Now Devlin. Easton staying with it. Devlin still delivering. Came through to Tommy Mooney. Kenton got in a tackle. And then Granger was closed out by Phil Mulrine.
Certainly been a good start for the Blues, though. They're looking very assertive, confident. At the moment, they're certainly the side that's got into its stride earlier.
Attempting the cross. Craig Fleming with the clearance. Ever present this season, played every minute of his fifth season at Norwich, part of Joe Royle's great overachievers at Oldham a decade or so back. Craig Fleming, a Halifax man, just like the chap he marks today, Jeff Horsfield. In by Granger, on by Mooney, out by Mackay. John still trying to turn, Holt repelling it. Devlin, in for Brian Hughes. Hughes with a shot.
Very impressive start, Peter, for Birmingham. Very impressive. At the moment, Norwich getting lots of bodies behind the ball. Not really picking up people. Hughes has run from midfield there. He's got plenty of time, plenty of space. Can't quite get his shot on target. But at the moment, Norwich really, they're working hard to get behind the ball, but they're not doing an awful lot when they do get behind the ball.
Johnson up well at the back of Nielsen. Just 8 weeks ago, after losing at home to Birmingham, Norwich slipped to 11th place in the First Division. 7 games remain. They were 25 points behind Manchester City, 20 behind Wolves, who are out of this equation now. 8 games unbeaten after that, until they lost their second leg at Molineux the other day. Granger. Devlin dispossessed by Easton. Went into a cul-de-sac. Drury was his way out of it, and Drury was in turn worried by Hughes. Barry Fry had him down as the best defender outside of the Premiership a year or 2 back. He came up in that excellent young posh side with Simon Davis and Matthew Etherington.
Barry Fry is the best goalkeeper outside the Premiership, the best left back, the best centre half, the best centre forward, the best inside right. Sells them all for £1 million each. Finishes just above relegation. Only joking, Barry.
Drury. In for little McVeigh.
Need to get a good feel of the ball, Norwich. They've got a bit of time now just to get a little, everybody get a good touch, get a little bit of confidence, because at the moment they've looked a bit, well, they've looked sloppy. Unfortunately, it hasn't hurt them.
Vickers climbing, Hughes helping it on. John coming to get it, and feeding it for Horsfield, who has momentarily slipped away from Kenton. Horsfield is as strong as an ox, but his upraised arm will concern Graham Barber. He will argue that he was simply trying to shrug off the full-back, but it was more than a shrug.
Big, strong, competitive lad, Jeff Horsfield, but that was stupid. In all fairness, all right, Kenton's trying to get the ball, he's having a little grapple, but he's running the risk here. Watch his left elbow. He's missed him with one, he'll get him with the second one, and he might be very lucky there not to get carded.
He stayed out of the book, which might be considered good man management by Graham Barber, perhaps understanding the feelings surrounding the game, the tension involved in it, that feelings are bound to run high. But it's difficult to defend what Jeff Horsfield has just been guilty of. Just a free kick given. Both these sides began the season indifferently, funnily enough, with defeats away from home in South London. I saw Norwich on the opening day. They were thumped 4-0 at Millwall, and by Nigel Worthington's admission, they were awful. Birmingham lost 3-1 at Wimbledon on the same day. Prospects didn't seem bright.
But you know, when you get into a game like this, you look for everything, every little omen and whatever, and as you so rightly said before, you know, Birmingham have beaten Norwich twice already this season. Somehow or other, it doesn't always follow that very seldom does a team beat the other 3 times in the same season. And I'm sure that in the Norwich camp they'll be thinking that.
Devlin. Really labouring to keep it in, and succeeded in doing so. Here's Granger. Teverley. Slipping away from Mulryan. And feeding it through for Brian Hughes, who's onside for Birmingham, but couldn't take the ball with him. And Mackay stepped out with it. Hughes again. Granger. Hughes.
Been very prominent, Brian Hughes, in getting forward. Tebley doing the anchor job. I thought he should have made more of that. Some good work by Tebley when he fed Hughes in. Didn't quite control it.
Johnson. Vickers just back from quite a prolonged spell of injury himself. Tebley, who is still to lose in a Birmingham shirt. Devlin.
He's not totally convinced me, you know, seeing him play centre-half in games, but certainly in the early stages of this game, he looks very, very comfortable and powerful in the middle of midfield.
Devlin's on the corner.
Sometimes I felt at the back he took too many risks, but certainly he looks big, powerful, and well up for it. What a point here, you know. They're going to look for Horsfield, I guess, the long throw. I think they should be front screening. They can get the ball into Horsfield too easily.
Horsfield's touch, and out by Kenton, held up by Easton, and Drury can get rid of it.
You know, you never allow that. You bring the centre half brings the fella back in front and says almost mark on his chest so he can't get a clear throw to him.
Norwich have barely crossed halfway until now. First chance to get something together. Rivers. And the diving header from Johnson behind for a corner. It's the first time really they've had anything like a foothold in the game.
Yeah, maybe they should try and get Rivers in it more, an outlet ball. Just keep playing. They've been forced to knock longish balls up in the air to the two strikers, Nielsen and McVeigh, and the Blues defenders have dealt fairly comfortable with that.
Mackay's headers at the end of the season have taken Norwich here. He will be forward for every set piece. Clint Easton with the corner. Much too much on that one. McVeigh chased it, Drury has it. Fleming, Easton. Aimed in at Mackay. Up by Vickers. Little McVeigh climbed well. Nielsen tried to turn. Rivers. Kenton. Kenner went back. It's only a throw.
Well, Jeff Kenner running in towards his own goal. Good ball in there from Darren Kenton, but super first touch. He's hit it into a right dangerous area. Can't get the runners in, and Kenner, he was just hoping that nobody was making up the ground at the back of him.
All right. Shaken off it by Hughes, who has Stern John with him, and he's played in Stern John, who's steered it wide. First big opening of the final falls to Birmingham City and to Stern John, whose last-minute goal at Millwall brought them here, and who had Steve Bruce off the bench.
It's all from some wonderful pressing by Brian Hughes, as they've been the most attack-minded player on the field. As he cuts in Stern John, he tries to take it off the outside of his right foot and just bend it round. I think he maybe should have tried to take the keeper on a little bit, open the keeper out a bit, and then got his shot away. But wonderful opportunity.
Rivers for Norwich. Held up by Granger and Mooney. If it is any consolation to Stern John, it is that he missed a hatful at Millwall as well and ended up being the hero of the hour.
You tried telling Steve Bruce that at the moment.
Kenton playing it in, and Basson came and had judged it well. Devlin taking on Holt. Norwich's player of the season, Gary Holt. Terrific investment, came down from Kilmarnock last year. Relatively cheaply. Over the top by Kenton, and Nielsen is offside. Scored goals at Grimsby last year. Wimbledon for the first part of this season, and latterly for Norwich, 8 including 6 in his first 6 appearances for the club.
Sort of player that will thrive on anything that's played through defenders. One thing, Birmingham, I just wonder whether they've decided on Steve's lineup. They've got Michael Johnson in there, who is very, very quick. I wonder if that's to try and match Nielsen's pace.
Horsfield came short. Kenner. Aimed in towards Mooney. Kenton got a shot from Robert Green. And Green sent Rivers scuttling forward. And taking on Granger for pace. And getting around Martin Granger. Still Mark Rivers and Nielsen. That was quick, because Granger isn't the slackest fullback.
I'll be honest with you, I would not have given Rivers a prayer when he knocked that one past. He got acres to catch up, and that is positive. That's encouragement to Norwich now. For the next few minutes now, they should try and feed him. Give him the ball from here. Let him have it.
Through by McVeigh, chased by Nielsen. Problems for Johnson. Nielsen's in and wide. officer is conducting an inquiry and passing a guilty verdict, it seems, on Michael Johnson.
Well, that's it. When defenders have the ball put behind him, he's got time, he's got tangled up. He thinks the keeper's coming to get it. He doesn't deal with it. And to be fair, that was once again, we've just seen a gilt-edged chance at one end of the field. That, to me, was an excellent chance. Once Johnson had got in confusion, really should be 1-1 at the moment.
Delia's on the edge of her seat. No Johnny-come-lately celebrity fan, Delia Smith, season ticket holder for 14 years.
Two big warning shots from Norwich, though. When it's shot, pace is great in it, and you've just seen some from outstanding pace from Mark Rivers and also from Nielsen.
Devlin. Aimed in towards Hughes. Came through to Tommy Mooney. He's struck it against Kenton. Granger. Johnson. Kenton steps out with it. Norwich are certainly finding their feet now. Nielsen. Rivers. Interesting ball for Kenton, who's kept chugging forward. And Vickers saw it back. Seven. Kenner. John, nice idea. Hughes is after it. Green has judged it well.
Very unlucky, but look at Hughes in there again. I think Stevie Bruce must have said to Tebley, you just hold the middle of the midfield and every opportunity to get forward. That is unlucky. Almost a terrific ball. Malky Mackay maybe just made sure Hughes didn't get to it, but almost a terrific ball from Stern John. By the way, we've done the last 3 or 4 of these, haven't we? And they've always been good games. This is not a disappointment. This is in keeping with the games we've had before.
Mooney's had an audacious effort, which you hope might flick off Fleming. It didn't. He's the danger to Norwich. At least that's how they'll perceive it, having scored a hat-trick against them in the league game. You mentioned, Ron, that Birmingham have won both. And whilst congratulating Steve Bruce on what he's achieved at the club, it ought to be remembered that the 4-0 win was under different management.
Yeah, that was the time, didn't it, when Mickey Mills and Jimmy Barron were holding the fort, and full marks. I mean, they did actually keep the Blues in the race. You know, they weren't. I think they were just behind Wolves just behind West Brom at the time.
Rivers. McVeigh. Holt. Drury. In by Easton, taken up by McVeigh. Lovely feet from Paul McVeigh. He's a nifty, nippy little fella.
That was magnificent. Great skill factor. I'll tell you what's happened since Norwich had that first attack. They've started bedding down and settling it. They're starting to enjoy it. This is phenomenal. That would have been as good a goal as they've seen in this stadium.
Only 5'6", taken out of Tottenham's reserves by Brian Hamilton in March of 2000, and then promoted from Norwich's reserves by Nigel Worthington a year later. Only pint size, but there's plenty of energy and ideas in him. Holt. Fading away from Tebley. In for McVeigh. Holt. In towards Nielsen, out by Vickers.
It's amazing how the pendulum has swung, isn't it? There, Norwich have really bedded down.
John. Holt was strong in holding off Tebley, but has been penalised for the manner in which he did it. He won his 4th Scotland cap in Bertie Vogt's first game in charge of that nation earlier this year in Paris.
Showed a fair amount of desire there. I mean, he's a competitive player, and he certainly showed it there. I'm not so sure there was a grapple, but they're both having a grapple by the look of it.
Johnson's free kick. In towards Horsfield and then skied by Stern John.
We talked about it from throw-ins there, Peter. You cannot allow Horsfield for them to knock the ball into him. They've got to screen, they've got to put somebody up in front of him from free kicks, long throws, because he's the man they'll try and check it. Again, he's got plenty of space, the ball's quality favouring him, and he just presents another opportunity for Stern Johnson. Not the easiest of chances. Stern Johnson maybe flashed it a bit.
Steve Bruce, of course, a Norwich lover. He was in their last promotion side, but at the moment it is unrequited love. They love Nigel Worthington instead. Free kick in favour of Darren Kenton and against Jeff Horsfield, who started this week, incidentally, remembering his roots, playing in a fundraising game for his old club, Halifax Town, who have their problems. They've gone out of the Nationwide League this season the other way. Vickers jumped under it, but was having a shot tugged by Paul McVeigh.
That's a bit of an uneven contest, that in the air, isn't it? When it's coming straight down the middle.
Long from Kenner. This time out by Mackay. Going to Hughes. Kenner again forward from full back. Aimed in at Horsfield, who's held it up again. Did he handle it?
Oh, he definitely handled it. What he's saying, he thinks he's got pushed in the back by Mackay. Oh, handled it. Well, if the keeper could catch it that well, you'd be happy, wouldn't you?
It's a fair cop, Gov. Good contest, that. Two uncompromising footballers out of the hard school. Nielsen. Nielsen's cross, Rivers round the back. Dealt with by Granger at the expense of a corner. "25 minutes gone very nearly of a fixture which was traditionally decided right at the very end."
You can tell how good a game it is. I didn't realise it's been playing that long. When a game's good, it seems to flow, and this game's flowing.
Flying by. Holt on near post duty. Easton's corner. Mackay trying to beat it and winning another one. Malky Mackay, 30-year-old Scot. Had 3 years at Queen's Park. He's played in big stadia before. Just that Hamden was watching, had crowds of 250 odd in the days he played there. Went on to Celtic, and now he finds himself here with Norwich. Out by Horsfield, and then by Tevelich. Drury. Rivers. Mark Rivers was Norwich's top summer signing. Cost $650,000 from Crewe. They haven't had a lot to invest. Hughes. Kenner. Touched off by John. Through by Hughes. Okay, to Stern John again. And muscled off it by Malky Mackay. Granger wasn't letting Rivers pass twice. They'll meet again.
He knows full well if Rivers, he's already had one look at him from the back. He knows full well if he gets ahead of steam up and gets facing him, he mustn't let him turn.
Rivers. Would have been a shame to him to see Crewe go down. He worked so hard in their cause under Dario Gradi. Horsfield holding up again and deemed to have backed in again.
Yeah, but it's a hard one, that, for the referee. Who's pushing who? I wouldn't mind betting the next time he'll give the free kick the other way. It's always a hard one, that, whether somebody's backing in or somebody's knocking him in from the back. John. Tevelich.
Kenner. Taken away by Easton. Out by Drury. And from Mulrine from McVeigh. Northern Ireland international colleagues. Their manager won 66 caps for that country. Fleming.
And I think he'll be happy with the managers now. He's seen his team, he's seen the opposition miss 2 or 3 good chances. He's seen his team now start to bed down, and some of his more creative players get on the ball. People like Rivers, he's had a good few minutes. Gary Holt, of course, is running it, and little McVeigh's very, very impressive, particularly when he just drops off the front and goes into that little Teddy Sheringham role.
Hughes. Arguably Birmingham's most influential player so far.
He has been. He's had a couple of good situations that he might have tucked away.
Horsfield away from Holt. And at Mackay, he's gone over, he's got nothing. Major talking point. John. Tebele. Hughes. Out by Mackay again, this time clean as you like. It was less clear-cut moments ago. Not guilty or guilty.
This will be very, very interesting. Oof. I think the referee possibly might have felt, certainly Steve Bruce might think it's a penalty, that's for sure. He might have felt Horsfield knocked the ball away from himself a bit too far. I think that would be the deciding factor, if any, but I thought Horsfield had a very decent shout.
Nielsen's flick, Rivers onto it. Over the top of Vickers. Kenner covering from full-back.
That's what's making it such an exciting game. Both sets of strikers, both lots of forward players seem to be bang on their game. So there's always a threat, although it's no score at the moment, there's always a threat of goals.
It's Kenton's cross. Well judged by Vasson. It's a free kick Birmingham's way anyway. 10 clean sheets in his 26 games this season, Nico Vasson. He gets the nod over Ian Bennett. He's played just about half the season, the rest shared between Bennett and Alan Kelly, who played a few on loan at the start, and Kevin Poole played once. Final game of last season, he played against Birmingham City for Huddersfield Town and was relegated from the First Division. Happier days. By Tebele. Mackay got ahead of Horsfield again. Granger. Mooney. Hughes. It's a super ball for Devlin. He's come away from Easton. Kenner. Who's taken on Easton and played it in towards John, and John has set it back for Tebele, who's tackled by Holt. Out by Fleming. Taken up by Rivers. In for McVeigh. Mulrine. Rivers. McVeigh.
He's doing some damage in that little spot there, McVeigh. Not pushing up against the 2 central defenders, dropping off there, and they, at the moment, Blues haven't got too many ways of combating him.
Drury. Nielsen has drifted wide. Played it in towards McVeigh, but it was a comfortable one for Michael Johnson to read. And he has a way out to Stern John, who in turn ran into traffic and negotiated it firmly. Kenton. Rivers. Well, he hasn't done a lot of his goal scoring, although he did get the equaliser with a left-footed shot against Wolves in the first leg of the semi-final.
Just saw Steve Bruce come to the touchline, and he was trying to get something on to his players. I just wonder whether it's Tebele who wants to get into more of a position in sitting in front of the two centre-backs. Started off the game very impressively. Now he seems to be just going here, there and everywhere. Hughes is going forward, and they've got a big hole in the middle of the midfield now.
Nielsen holding up in the way that Ewan Roberts ordinarily would. And he got a shove in the back. Norwich have a free kick. It would be a surprise if Ewan Roberts weren't introduced at some stage. He's played the last half an hour or more of the last 2 or 3 fixtures after a prolonged spell on the sidelines, but he is their talisman. They look to him. He's a lot of fun. And he's had a lot of experience of this sort of game, a playoff veteran. Rivers in towards McVeigh, up in the air by Vickers. Mackay. Morai. Mooney. Straight at his former Watford teammate Easton, who gets it back from McVeigh. It's Clint Easton for Norwich. It's Paul McVeigh. Never settled on it.
I think if Blues don't lay hold of this fella, they're going to get punished for it. He won't push up against Vickers or Johnson. He drops off them, and the only way you can get that if you don't bring one of your central defenders out to do it. Look at the time and space he's got. He's had 2 sightings of goal now. I think if he gets a third one, he'll stick it away. I think they've got to get hold of Tebele, who's got to be more disciplined and sit in there, and when he drops it to midfield, McVeigh, he's got to get hold of him. Because at the moment, in the last 15 minutes or so, McVeigh's really bossing the game.
All right. Rivers for Drury. McVeigh. Mulrine. Easton. Repelled by Vickers. On by Hughes, only for Phil Mulrine again. Rivers. Ranger dealt with it. Horsfield. Mooney won the throw. Shove at the back of John by Mackay. In by Kenner. Out by Fleming. Kenner went hurtling back. He's a man who took a pay cut when he left Blackburn to get first-team football at Birmingham. He might get first-team football in the Premiership again if all goes well over the next hour or so. Nothing showing on the face of Karen Brady in a match which brings together 2 of the major women in English football. Miss Brady and Miss Smith. Darren Pearce is the major miss for Birmingham today. Suspended because of a needless sending off on the last day of the regular season against Sheffield United. He'll be ruining that now. He, of course, scored that last-minute penalty in the League Cup final last February. And the rumours say that regardless of whether Birmingham are promoted, he will be in the Premiership next year. That remains to be seen. McVeigh offloading. Rivers arriving. And Mooney shielding, and the referee overruled his assistant there and gave a goal kick.
Yeah, but that was good work from Tommy Mooney. He realised straight away the problems that Martin Granger's having when he's 1v1. Good thread again from McVeigh, and that's great closing now. Stop the cross, stop the goal.
Mike Tingley on the touchline pointed for a corner initially. Graham Barber got it absolutely right to Tommy Mooney's relief. Long from Granger, in by Devlin. Up in the air by Drury and out by Fleming. Kenner. John.
Very, very compact Norwich. Now they've got their game plan going. They're keeping the ball, passing it about. They play in tight little numbers. They've always got a pass available to them.
Well, at Molineux the other week, when they were under the cosh for most of the game, they still kept their passing tight and neat. They, I guess, stuck to their principles. They did things the way they had learnt to do things. And they have a free kick now because of Michael Johnson's.
He's frustrating them. McVeigh's frustrating them completely. Ball's fed in. They can't get to the ball. McVeigh's showing from every position. I think at the moment he's been phenomenal. His link-up play.
Mooney. Fabulous ball for Devlin. Who can take them on here, Paul Devlin, but who is subject to an excellent tackle from Clint Easton.
That epitomises what Norwich are about. He tracked back a long distance then to help his full-back, and when he got there, he certainly made a decisive tackle. When Norwich lose the ball, they really do. Both wide midfield players fly back into filling the holes.
Clint Easton missed out on Watford's big day 3 years ago. He's clearly determined to make up for that now. Did play a dozen or more Premiership games for Watford in their sole season with the big boys. Rivers fair clattered into by Granger, who flexes a bicep fairly overtly when he wants to make his presence felt, the left back for Birmingham. He's not unknown to referees.
Yeah, he's gone in rash. He certainly isn't going to let Rivers get a run at him, and
I think Graham Barber's managed the game well up to now.
Yeah, wouldn't argue with that. Free kicks should be sufficient. Be more than sufficient if they make you pay.
Easton and Rivers over the set piece. Holt in there, Nielsen in there, Mackay of course in there. Only Fleming really is back for Norwich. It's Easton's delivery. It's out by Johnson. It's come to Adam Drury. And then Mulrine. In by Drury. Towards Kenton. And chased by Nielsen. There is a flag up. Graham Barber's not aware of it yet. Nielsen has crossed. And finally, the referee has taken cognizance of the flag.
Yes, he gave it for offside, I think. Tight decision. Very, very tight decision.
Now offside.
Just ran on as he was. Nielsen went for the ball.
Graham Barber is one of England's UEFA referees. He's had charge of big games in the UEFA Cup and the Champions League this year, but it's certainly his biggest appointment domestically as a one-off fixture. All right. McVeigh offside by a country mile.
Did well there, Vickers. Stood up very quickly. We read the script, stood up. Don't always advocate offside, but there are times when you can see it coming with good experience. I feel if Steve Bruce is going to do anything in half-time, he'll have to readjust his midfield some way. I think he's got to ask Tebley, who seems to just float about the game, playing where he fancies. He's going to ask him to do more work when they lose the ball.
They won it well. Got it back for Tebley. And then Kenner. And got it from the outside of the club. Robert Green there, one of the best young goalkeepers around. His performances have been noted this season. Only 22, stepped into Andy Marshall's boots when he left for Ipswich and the Premiership. Note the irony there, or the potential irony. Free kick against Horsfield. Steve Bruce won't be able to sit down again now.
He's bad-mouthed him. The referee has shown a lot of management in the game, so I think, Jeff, you better just shut up because he's due to book somebody. He let him off once, didn't he, early on for the incident in the corner, which is a blatant elbow.
Fleming's free kick. Easton climbing for it. Easton judging it well. Birmingham's last promotion season was the season when David Seaman took over from Tony Coton in goal. Hughes. Kenner. Holt Shirley. And Holt storming forward. This is a thrilling run from Gary Holt for Norwich City. And he's fed it here for Rivers. And it's come through to Easton. All because of the energy and bustle and desire of Gary Holt.
Magnificent work from Holt. I mean, the acceleration and the drive here. You think he's going to pop Rivers in? He's actually been knocked to play towards Rivers. I thought Rivers might have pulled the trigger there. He's played a fair ball in there, and Easton really goal gaping, got anxious, got excited. A little bit more composure, and Norwich would be leading the game. But at the moment now, Norwich for me are dominating the game. They really are in terms of control, and Birmingham's got to look at the midfield. That's where it's gone. They can't afford to have both Hughes flying forward, which he's done very well, and as I say, his partner in midfield, Tebley, who quite frankly looks to be playing standing still until this situation where he picks up the ball. Done well with the ball.
Mooney, last minute of the first half. A goal now could mean much. Tebley, John, Stern John closed out by Drury. There's a way out to Devlin. Kenner. Mooney climbing. And Horsfield! Oh, what a save!
That was phenomenal. That was what we talked about earlier on. Mooney coming around the back stick. Big header back across the goal. Horsfield, I think Norwich thought he may have been offside. But you mentioned earlier about Robert Green being an excellent, promising young goalie. I'll tell you what, that's as good a save as you'll see this season. That was a magnificent save.
Quick free kick taken by Devlin, but Graham Barber's going to give them a second chance. Jeff Horsfield had a golden chance.
I prefer to say, look, he's not offside, he's level, it's going away from him, he can't get a full on it, but that is a superb reaction. Just manages to palm it away. Unfortunately for Norwich, it goes to one of their defenders, but for a save like that, he deserves the lock.
Granger with the free kick, first half stoppage time. Perhaps the last kick of the first half. Granger. There's Vickers in the mix. The moment of the half came right at the end of the half. It is goalless because of a breathtaking stop from 22-year-old Robert Green. What a save from Horsfield, whose battle with Mackay has been one of the engaging features of the game to date as well. It's goalless, but it's good, and it remains on a knife edge, 0-0. Well, of course, by 6 o'clock tonight, there'll be plenty of killjoys telling the winners here that they'll go straight back down. That isn't necessarily the case. The last two playoff winners have survived their first season up. In fact, since the inception of the Premiership, 4 of the 10 teams promoted via the playoffs have stayed at least a year, and 3 of those 4, Blackburn, Leicester and Ipswich, have actually been playing in Europe within a year or two of their promotion. Remember, none of last year's promoted teams even had to sweat on the last day of the Premiership this year. It can be done, and that will be the ambition of one of these teams, perhaps 45 minutes from now, perhaps considerably longer than that. Extra time is of course an option, penalties beyond that. Just hearing talk of Niall Quinn's testimonial upcoming. He and Sunderland were involved in the greatest of all these playoff finals, the 4-4 at Wembley in '98, that indeed went to penalties, and plenty of them. Long way from that yet. Horsfield going up again at the start of the second half with Mackay as so often he did before the break. Devlin. Away from Easton, taking on Drury and digging out a good-looking cross, which McVeigh repelled as far as Granger. In again by Johnson, out by Kenton. Nielsen turning and Johnson stuffing him out. An early thought from you in the second half, Ron?
Yeah, I'm just going to have a look and see what we're talking about first half, about whether Steve has decided to just alter or make a safer midfield of the area, you know, put Tebley. I think it's the ideal man to sit in the hole there. Just wonder.
Here's Kenton from full back and Mooney has snuffed him out, but yielded a corner. First inkling of hope after the break goes Norwich City's way. They do now attack their own supporters. Mackay waiting back post, Easton delivering, and Bassam clinging on. Just hearing from Gary down in the tunnel, Ron, that really it's the issue you picked out, that Steve Bruce picked out during half-time. He's told his players to close down Paul McVeigh's space.
Yeah, as I said, there's two ways you can do it. You can either send one of your central defenders from the back and push him in, or the fella on the ball now, Tebley, who's very, very comfortable on the ball.
It is Tebley. And it got a little nick before it got through to Robert Green. He had to make an adjustment and did the safe, sensible thing by turning it round.
Yeah, I mean, this is strange, really. You've got a centre-half that's more comfortable running forward with the ball. I'm not so sure Nigel Worthington would have seen that the same way as you've seen it. I think he might have felt he spilt it. Having said that, he spilt it into a safer area, if you like.
It is Granger's deep corner. And it's away by Drury from the line after Green couldn't gather at the back post. Johnson and Tebley climbing with him. Michael Johnson went years without scoring for Birmingham, and then got a few in a row. He has become a threat from set pieces.
Yeah, he's got right in there. The keeper has actually got another touch on it. It's nowhere near as good a save as he won in the first half. But you see Norwich, they've got bodies back in there. Enough bodies in there just to hoof the thing away. But the keeper did have another little nick on that one. But for me, I think that represents Birmingham's best chance. Whenever the ball's thrown into the penalty box, either from a throw-in or a wide area.
Kenton got it back from Rivets and drove towards the area and found McVeigh! Touched over.
Yeah, should have scored. He's had two sighters in the first half, but were hard. I mean, he does ever so well here, Kenton. He drives into the box, cuts it back, picks a pass. A good save from Bassam, but I feel that McVeigh has got good enough feet to have made a better attempt than that.
Rivers with the corner, compelling start to the second half. Bassam has come and taken charge.
Certainly at the moment, from set plays, Birmingham look more dangerous than Norwich. I've been a bit disappointed with Norwich's delivery. They've overhit an awful lot of them.
Forward from Granger.
Whereas I still think Birmingham's best chance of getting... Oh, that's a brilliant interception. Tebley dwelt on it.
Holt took it from Tebley and then went over Granger, who rather sold himself and might pay for that in more senses than one. He's both hurt and he's going to make himself an entry in Graham Barber's book.
I think where Holt surprised a few players, if you think back to that run he had in the first half, he's got a surge and he surges here. I think Granger expected the ball to be left between him and a 50-50, but he has that little acceleration. He did it several times in the first half, and he's caught Granger napping with his pace.
First sight of the two physios in any meaningful way. John Price for Birmingham and Neil Reynolds for Norwich. Granger seems okay. He's probably in no hurry to get up, because when he does, he has an appointment with Graham Barber. He's in the waiting room with his book and his pen at the ready.
Just wondered if they have to wait for the fella to get up before they book it. I don't think I've ever seen a referee bend down and said, "All right, son, you're booked."
The worst ones are the ones who get sent off when they're on the stretcher. Should we get the business done now, ref?
He's had one or two near escapes in the first half, Martin Granger.
And,
I definitely feel the pace there of Holt surprised him. He lunged in thinking the ball was going to be left in there for the challenge. And as I say, Holt just picked up that little tempo, that little stride.
and finally the conversation can be held. Perhaps of greater consequence for Birmingham is Martin Granger's mobility now, because he's still moving rather gingerly. And they have a free kick to defend. Tommy Mooney can drop back into left back temporarily, but Steve Bruce may have some reorganisation to do. Rivers aimed at Mackay, who's kept it in, and then Kenton, and then McVeigh, and then Johnson behind via Mackay. It's a goal kick.
As he went over the top of him, Holt, I think he's just caught Martin Granger on the hip. Mackay just can't do what he did against Wolves in the last minute of the home leg. Just get his header on it and steer it goalwards.
Granger is still hobbling. He, of course, will have ambitions to run off the problem. He has business to deal with here. It was he who missed the first of Birmingham's penalties in the League Cup final. Johnson's going back to snuff out David Nielsen.
I think you saw then he'd learned from the first half, Johnson, when they had a little mix-up and Nielsen nearly got in the score. Safety first.
Holt flinging it towards Rivers. Granger got up well, which bodes well for Birmingham. Kenton. McVeigh, nice touch. Nielsen didn't quite read it, Johnson did. And John has turned Fleming, who stuck out an arm and wouldn't let him pass. Back in by Hughes, but Horsfield's still coming back from offside, and Mackay can tidy it up. Jeff Horsfield, who won the conference with Halifax only 4 years ago, won Division 2 with Fulham a year after that. It's been a long journey from bricklayer possibly to Premiership.
I think he'd appreciate, and I think Stone John would, just a little bit more quality on the service into them. They're having an awful lot of what I'd call fighting balls, where they're giving the centre halves, Fleming and Mackay, a chance to get at them. Just dropping them in a little bit lower, the passes into them, a little bit, try and hit them on the chest. So the Southern defenders have got to give free kicks away if they're going to try and get the ball.
Mooney won a header. Horsfield received. And ran at Fleming to win a corner. It's what he is. He's hard, he's direct, he's muscular, brawny.
Oh, I'll take that. They've looked a threat on corners.
Steve Vickers comes forward from centre half. Tebelly's in there too. Mooney waiting near the penalty spot. It's Granger for Mooney! It's another corner.
That's unlucky there. He's lost his mark and he's got his shots in. And another day that deflection might have gone into the net. I actually thought Mooney was going, because Devlin's lurking behind Mooney, I thought he was going to try and run him under the ball, run the defenders under the ball.
Granger again. Out by Holt. Devlin. Held up by Mulrine. Support from Hughes. Early ball forward for Horsfield. Hemmed in by Fleming. It's a Norwich ball.
Loves it, doesn't he? Fleming loves it. Joe Rawley always used to say about him, you know, he's his most reliable defender. If he had to play against somebody that could play, he'd stick him in as a marker. He always used to say nobody could outrun him. One of those who's gone through his career just doing a job week in and week out and doing it well.
Up and under from Hughes. Kenton under it. Hughes again. Here's the goal kick. Brian Hughes, who's been through all the near misses in his 5 years since Wrexham. $70,000 plus for the 13th major English club game to be played in the Millennium Stadium. Forward by Kenton. By Kenner. Drury for Nielsen, who tries to slither away from Vickers. Easton got on with the free kick. This is Mark Rivers, who can worry Mooney. It's still Rivers. Didn't quite fall for Easton.
See straight away though that Martin Granger's first intention was to make sure Rivers went inside, try to push him infield. He's had a taste of what Rivers can do going down the outside. Look how he shapes his body, push him infield. Tommy Mooney's already got back there to double bank.
Won by Horsfield. Taken up by John. Support arriving late from Devlin. Snuffed out initially by Mackay. John again, then Kenner. Then Devlin. Holt away, back in by Vickers this time. And Tebberley and Horsfield. Horsfield's been fouled, not by Easton, but by Mackay, I think. There. And this is another one made for Martin Granger. The left wand hasn't conjured much yet. Time now, perhaps.
This is a better position. It's more infield.
Granger. And again. And too much on the wall back in as well for Olivier Tebberley. Some of his set pieces have been really special over the course of this season and previous seasons. And he hasn't come up with one on the big day yet. Easton. Took his chance.
Trying for the element of surprise there because it looked all the way as if he was going to take it and shape a ball out to the right wing.
Kenton's got caught on it, but won it back in the face of Tommy Mooney and scuttled away from Granger. Kenton, Nielsen let it go, Easton wanted it, Vickers stuck out a leg importantly.
That's a much better ball. The central defender couldn't get at it.
Holt. Running away from Horsfield, but into Hughes, but he gives nothing. Easton. McVeigh. Easton. Rivers wants it wide. Easton checks and finds Nielsen. And Nielsen's got himself a corner last off Vickers. That's a good contest as well. We've seen Mackay against Horsfield at one end, but they're pumped up at the other.
Oh, they are. That was a nice slick move there. It looks for all the world as that was going to run out of play, and Nielsen, with his resilience and commitment, kept the thing in. There's Mackay going up. He seems as if he's a focal point. I think he could do with a better delivery, the one that swings right around the back.
Easton went short this time for McVeigh. And then Easton again, beautifully worked, but well taken out of the air by Nico Vassi. He wanted to hurry his clearance. An hour gone in the 2002 First Division playoff final. Still Extraordinarily, given the flowing and exciting nature of the game, we haven't had a goal. But here is Horsfield for Birmingham. Tackle from Fleming, taken up by Holt. Don't be surprised that it's going to the wire. 6 of the last 7 of these have been settled in or after the 90th minute. 6 of the last 7 have had the clinching goal that late. Teverley turning. Brian Hughes. Gathered by McVeigh. Mulrine. Mulrine's cross. And Basson had nothing by way of competition. Found John very easily. Clinton came across from right back. Fullbacks have all had an important role today. All 4 of them have got forward, and all 4 of them have covered their own defensive territory well. Kenner's throw. Horsfield's turn. Jeff Horsfield. Did well to stay on his feet then under challenge from Adam Drury. There was a little nick at the ankles.
Yeah, it looks as if that's the one thing about him, Jeff Horsfield, or one of the things about him. He has got persistence. You thought he'd lost that ball. He managed to fight it back, get possession, and wasn't that far adrift. Just watching Stern John, you mentioned earlier how easy he got the ball. I think he could, if you like, take a leaf out of McVeigh's book and drop off the play a little bit. I think when he pushes up against the central defenders, they don't mind that. They'll just go in behind him and make sure he doesn't turn. But he looks better when he's just dropped off the play a bit and got it to feet, got turned round.
All right. Holt. Kenton. Mulrine. Interception by Hughes. Forward by Mooney. John was persistent. Mackay stayed with him. Is there a point, Ron, in a game like this, and you've been involved in cup finals and all that sort of thing, where having had the initial bout of nerves, with the game still at 0-0, players start to realise, hang on, one mistake now and I could spoil it for everyone? Do nerves kick back in?
Well, they do, I suppose, but I also think the other thing, we've gone 40-odd games to get here. We're not going to give it away lightly, and if we have to go another half an hour, so what? You know, we've played 40-odd games to get here, and they'll work and they'll work and they'll work. Nobody wants, as you say, nobody wants to give any advantage away. It hasn't seemed a nervous game to me, I must admit. It seems the players have expressed themselves quite well.
Devlin. Kenner. Teverley. Untidy touch from him. Drury had it robbed from him though by Devlin. And had to tackle back to surrender a corner. Devlin is persistence personified.
Yeah, most of the threats have come when his Rain crosses him from the right wing, that's for sure.
And Granger has gone over for the set piece, winding up the Blues fans. Granger's deep one, back in by Johnson.
Now this could be interesting. Unfortunately, Rivers isn't one of the ones in advance.
Nielsen has it, Holt wide of him, McVeigh through the middle. Now Easton, Mulrine wants it. Easton in for McVeigh, and the flag is up.
Full marks to Easton. The way he made up the ground there, when the break was on the right, Easton's shown good energy. And very often when they attack up the right Norwich, they always seem to have a man over on the other side of the field.
Horsfield is swapping shirts with Drury. Drury didn't want to swap shirts just yet. Easton forward for Nielsen. And then Rivers. Seeking to torment Granger again. Good firm block tackle from Mooney.
Yeah, look, that would be the concession I think that Steve Bruce may have made. I think he said to Mooney, you've got a big responsibility to out Martin Granger out on that side of the field.
Hughes drifting it wide. Devlin with space. Horsfield in the middle. Stern John in the middle. Devlin at Drury. Out by Mackay. Then Teverley. Blotted out by Adam Drury.
That's a good play, isn't it? Put that out beautifully.
And then McVeigh got the pass wrong.
I think if I was Nigel Worthington, I'd be saying to Rivers, although they're trying to push you inside, you take the initiative and go back on the outside.
Steve Bruce's only previous trip to Cardiff, to this stadium incidentally, was for last year's First Division playoff final when he came to support his old mucker Sam Allardyce and got a win. Sam is here to support Steve today. Here's Mooney for Birmingham. Kenson clear. Granger.
I think they've also got the problem, both managers. I mean, they'll be reasonably happy, particularly Nigel Worthington, I think, the way his team's playing. But there comes a point where substitutes have got to come into it. And the big possibility of extra time. Do you play your hand too early, or do you keep, you know, we're talking, I think, with Nigel, I suppose we're talking mainly about Ewan Roberts.
Well, that is his big trump card.
But if I was him, I think I'd be inclined to keep it as it is at the moment. His team's playing well. We've got a nice balance.
Because the guilty party, and they're throwing on bottles now from the side. It's a warm day. The roof is closed, but there's a bit of a greenhouse effect, and they look like a field of Welsh daffodils, don't they? Beautiful sight. Fleming's free kick, up in the air by Johnson, taken down by Rivers, in towards Nielsen. Johnson defending again. Lorraine. McVeigh. Nielsen. Holt won it back and was fouled. Drury quickly on with a free kick. Graham Barber's not having it. Birmingham are making a change very shortly, and Stan Lazaridis is going to join us. Word is it's going to be Tommy Mooney who's withdrawn. Words there with Mark Bowen, a Welshman and former employee of Norwich, as indeed is Steve Bruce. Meantime, McVeigh aimed in at Nielsen, who got his angles all wrong.
Just felt that may have been a little bit behind Nielsen. But once again, McVeigh started quietly the second half, but now he's started to take charge of the game, just as he did in the first half.
And here comes the change, and there is Stan Lazaridis, who might be useful in the penalty shootouts. He scored in both of Birmingham's last season. Despite defeat, he replaces Tommy Mooney, whose golden run against Norwich therefore comes to an end. He is, of course, a Premiership player, or has been, Stan Lazaridis, with West Ham. And his season has already included one playoff. He lost it with Australia in Montevideo and missed out on the World Cup to Uruguay. Lifted forward towards Horsfield, and Green didn't communicate properly with Fleming. And it came out for Lazaridis to contribute for the first time. But the ball bounced away.
Yeah, he may have done. To be fair, Robert Green may have communicated here, but Fleming, not sure. Golden rule, if you ain't sure, you defend it and then have an argument afterwards.
And sure enough, they had an argument.
Yeah, but they're not having an argument about a ball in the back of the net, which sometimes happens when people get confused.
Fair point.
It's ugly, it's old-fashioned, but do it.
We were talking about his save in the first half run during half-time, and you were saying that could go down as one of those legendary club saves.
Yeah, I mean, if you think when Sunderland won the cup, and everybody, they don't think so much about Ian Porterfield's goal, although probably Ian does, but they always bring up the Jim Montgomery save. And I would think if Norwich win today, that save will go down in folklore.
Both of Steve Bruce's children were born in Norwich. Norwich was the club that gave him his big-time break. Today he seeks to spoil it for them.
Yes, Steve's son, a very promising young player at Blackburn Rovers. He'll be here today, Alex.
Yes, he is. with Steve's wife Janet and his 14-year-old daughter Amy. They're all up there in the box with Karen Brady. And they're watching Steve Vickers, who's having a mobility problem now. And Darren Carter, what a moment this is for him. He's not 19 until December. He didn't make his debut until the end of January. An England youth player who finds himself on Welsh turf here in a simply massive game for him.
Tell you what, I think that'll improve their midfield, because Carter is a natural sitting player. He'll go in, and Tebele will go back to the position he plays mainly at the back. I think Carter will give them a better balance in midfield, because he does like to get his foot in as well. He can make a tackle.
Well, we're talking here about fulfilling boyhood dreams before we're out of boyhood. Horsfield. Lazaridis. Flags up, it had gone behind. Word is that it is a calf injury for Steve Vickers, which has caused him to leave the party early. There he is, disappointment for him. Started the year in the Premiership, still might end it there. And he's given way to a player who's not much half his age. Forward by Kenner. Down a little awkwardly by Mackay, but it's worked out well for Drury. Nielsen got in sharply and got a rap for it from Olivier Tebele. It's close enough to one of our effects microphones that you could actually hear the contact. Bang. Nielsen marked by Johnson. Drury's gone short for Easton and then found Mulrine. Lazaridis coming between Ball and Kenton. Holt going back and Fleming coming across. A little more than a quarter of an hour to play before extra time. One place remains in the Premiership. £40 million is the estimate in terms of value of today's prize. As a one-off game in the English footballing calendar, there isn't one that carries a greater reward. And no one has claimed it yet. Hughes. Devlin. Nicked out by Easton. And after the early boisterousness and excitement and singing, there is a degree of nervousness now.
Yeah, I think there's more nerves from the crowd than there is from the players, to be fair. They're more anxious, I suppose. The Birmingham fans have been there so many times and it hasn't quite happened for them.
Devlin, who is a true blue nose.
Yeah, and I still think he represents a big, big threat. If he can get crosses in, I wonder if that's why Stan Lazaridis has gone on the other side. I know he can defend, has played a lot as a wing-back, but he has got the ability when he's on the top of his game to get crosses over. And I would believe, although look at Horsfield now, Horsfield seems to be limping a bit, but he's a strong Yorkshire lad and he'll be all right.
Horsfield's movement has never been pretty, but he is all muscle. Out by Tebele. Johnson got an eyebrow on it, and Tebele got a boot on it. And behind the goal that Birmingham are defending, Ewan Roberts is preparing. Wisely, he's chosen the end of his own supporters. He's within 3 or 4 yards of many of them. He is their hero. They want him.
Just wonder how Nigel Worthington would balance that up if he put the big Roberts on. Whether he'd keep, because Nielsen's looked a threat with his pace. McVeigh certainly controlled the game. You know, whether he'd consider switching Nielsen to a left-sided position.
Many of these Norwich supporters began the day at 6 o'clock. It's a long journey from east to west across the nation. And the day will finish long after midnight by the time they're back in East Anglia. Their side have a corner. Mackay giving Teverley problems. Easton delivering. Mackay. Hassan came to get it. And was impeded as he did, so has a free kick. John's won it from Easton and kept it from Holt and given it to Hughes. Devlin. Hughes. Green has come and punched only to John, and Holt's tackle was important.
Very important. Keeper's had almost a faultless game, a brilliant game in fact, but that would have been a bad mistake from him, which fortunately for him his skipper got him out of trouble with. Well, not his skipper, Gary Holt, in fact.
Kenton. Easton.
I think if he has got a disappointment, Nigel, he'll be a bit disappointed that maybe they haven't been able to get Rivers in the game more and get him running down, the side with Dougie Livermore with him. He's a good bloke to have around. He'll liven the place up, particularly if they win tonight.
He's coached at big clubs, Liverpool and Spurs, and also, funny enough, worked down here in Wales. Dougie Livermore was part of Norwich's 1972 promotion team. There he is to Nigel Worthington's left. Bags of experience on that bench. Nigel Worthington, as I mentioned, twice promoted, once under Howard Wilkinson, once under Big Ron here. He says that he takes a little bit from both of those management textbooks and compares the spirit that he has going at Norwich right now with that of Sheffield Wednesday's 1991 promotion team. They're amongst the noisiest around, Birmingham fans. They don't half have a sing.
Yes, when you see the fans like this on both sides, you really want both teams to win, don't you? I mean, it's been a the pre-match thing was absolutely unbelievable.
Really is this, and I know it's said before cup finals and all the big games, but this is just a hideous game to lose. Drury down the line. Careers hinge on this game. The history of clubs. Likewise. Easton. Drury. Easton. Out by Carter. Taken up by John. Horsfield's gone ahead of him, and John had spotted a pass, but so had Kenton. Easton. Aim towards Nielsen. Johnson going back to good effect. Out by Granger. Lazaridis held up by Holt.
Yeah, he hasn't been able to get ahead of Steve, but I'm a big fan of his when he's playing well, Lazaridis. He can run the line, he can get crosses in, and I wonder whether Steve Bruce felt that maybe they've got to try and carry the fight a little bit down both flanks. But certainly at the moment, Stan hasn't been able to get his game going.
Minutes before Steve Bruce has to prepare his side for extra time, during which, incidentally, if you're not acquainted with the rules, there's no golden goal rule. You play the full 30 minutes, and then if it's still level, it's penalties. So often this is decided late. Bolton got 2 goals in the last 2 minutes last year. Martin Reusser finally won it for Ipswich in the 90th minute the year before. A couple of years before that, the 4-4 Charlton-Sunderland, 7-6 on penalties. Year before that, David Hopkin in the last minute for Crystal Palace. Year before that, Steve Claridge in the last minute of extra time for Leicester. And here's Stern John for Birmingham. Who's claiming a corner.
Well, Carter's done well. He's persistent. He's got the ball in, and
it's a good tackle by Drury.
Yeah.
It's always a last gasp thing. Whoever loses now will be able to say we were minutes, moments away from the Premiership. We were that close. It is Granger's corner. It's up in the air by Holt. Johnson will climb. Out as far as Stern John. Closed out by Easton, but with his hand. Free kick Birmingham. And the first of their set pieces on the left side of centre here. It still might suit Martin Granger, but not quite as well as previous ones.
Is he a bit unlucky to have a free kick given against him there, Easton?
He'll feel that. Paul Devlin is the right-footed option here. Martin Granger left. They're behind the goal. Oh, his effort has gone closer than any of Martin Granger's.
Yeah, good pace on it. I thought, looking in from the side, it didn't half zip. To be fair, I think the young keeper would have made another good save from it, but that's the closest kept from a free kick.
Couple of inches away. Change for Norwich. It is the much anticipated one. It's the toothless grin of the Welshman, Ewan Roberts. The one player here who's played in this stadium before. Who's played in this stadium when it's full. He's played for Wales against Brazil here. And he comes on for David Nielsen. 13 goals this season, despite missing nearly half the season. And climbing immediately to try and win it for McVeigh.
What it certainly means now, though, that Norwich have got to get the wide players going, so they can get crosses in for Big Ewan.
Devlin. John. Nicely cushioned for Hughes. Brian Hughes against Kenton. Teberlin. Ran into Holt. And unchecked Holt, who is now struggling. Drury. In towards Roberts, out by Granger. Lazaridis, fresh legs. And there aren't many of those left. And he's got a corner off Kenton.
I've always advocated that, you know, if you're in the last third and you have a go at somebody in the wide areas, if you take them on the outside, even if you don't get your crossing, there's always a fair chance it's going to be for a dangerous throw or a corner kick. And this is what Birmingham are doing now. They're building up a momentum. They're getting pressure. They're able to bring the big guys from the back forward.
Granger once more. Johnson couldn't get airborne.
That's where, of course, Roberts will be doubly useful.
Devlin. Held up by Drury. It's another corner. Legs, desire, adrenaline. They've had 7 corners each. It is as tight as it could be. It is frighteningly important. Dare they watch? Granger's winding them up. Horsfield waits to attack it. Granger delivers it. Headed out by Easton. Came to Lazaridis. And Lazaridis delivered. And Drury got under it. And Mackay got it away. It is Harum Scarum inside Norwich's penalty area. 5 minutes away from extra time.
The game is better for Birmingham when they get this sort of pressure play going. I've never felt they're going to create a movement that could cut Norwich apart, but I've always felt that they always offer a threat here.
Granger, Horsfield, Tebely!
Well, you talk about the save that would have put somebody down in folklore. If that had have hit the back of the net, he'd have been a local hero in Birmingham, that's for sure. It's a good 2-0, two players miss it. He's got a good sighting on it, but unfortunately he's leaning back, and I think it's Gary Holt again, just does enough to put him off. There's a chance there, Holt just puts himself in there and maybe makes it awkward through.
Steve Bruce for a split second was in the Premiership, so were they. Johnson going back.
Now, of course, we talk about the word used a lot in the first half of pendulum. Use it again, because this gives them a chance to give Roberts some service.
Hearts beating. Roberts waiting. Easton's corner. That's well taken by Vasson. Been a good, assured performance by him. It hasn't had to be as showy a display as Robert Green's. John. Holt's tackled. McVeigh took it. Mulrine. Rivers. Away from Granger. In for McVeigh. It's Paul McVeigh's cross.
Oh, I wanted it deeper. Roberts had pulled clear to the back post all on his own.
But here goes Lazaridis again. Has he got the legs of Holt? He has. Has he got the legs of Kenton? Not quite. Steve Bruce has taken them to the edge. And I must say, not everyone would agree with this, but on a day like this, I do spare a thought for Trevor Francis, who got so close so often with them as well. And, of course, was in charge for the first half of this season, and quite possibly will be watching this and wondering whether it might have been him. Roberts won the header. Johnson went across, and his hand was certainly close. Easton. Holt. Kenton. Holt. Well cut out by Lazaridis and shifted forward for Horsfield, who is goal side of Holt and has John in the middle and runs at Fleming. It's Jeff Horsfield for Birmingham. It's a terrific telescopic leg from Craig Fleming.
Does exceptionally well again. Full marks once again to Gary Holt. He's backtracking and put him off, but what he's done, he's not allowed Horsfield to come back on his right foot. Jeff Horsfield, I thought they're surely not going to show him side and let him have a shot.
A picture that says it all. Once again, this will be decided in or after the last minute. It's Granger's corner. It's Tebely's leap. It's Easton's clearance. Well judged by Hughes. Lazaridis. 2 minutes will be added on to the first 90. There may be 30 more. Devlin drifting it in. Horsfield peeling away. Johnson going up for it and Green claiming it.
I mean, it's obviously tactical because they do it all the while, but I'm surprised how deep Norwich go under their own bar. When Devlin had the ball there, I felt like they're inviting pressure, but they're very comfortable doing it.
Change for Norwich. Mark Rivers is being withdrawn. It's little Alex Notman, a feisty 22-year-old Scot who comes on for Rivers. Rivers had his moments. There was a memorable moment in the first half when he skinned Martin Granger, but is this little fella only 5'7"? The last sighting Brian Hamilton made in charge of Norwich, who has a chance to be a hero.
For provisionals of kid taking indicating 2 minutes extra time, 2 minutes.
Notman. Impossibly agonising. Managers with great mutual respect who've met each other in big games over the years. A League Cup final which interested you, Ron. Manchester United Leeds games all the way through to Birmingham and Stoke in their finishing days as players only 3 or 4 years back. Devlin. Hughes is furthest forward for Birmingham. Devlin's come away from Easton and come away from Holt, but run into Mackay. Easton. Drury. McVeigh. Roberts. Mulrine. A goal now is the winner. Notman. McVeigh. In by Notman. Oh, Roberts was waiting to finish the game. What a header by Kennett. What a captain's intervention this is.
Peter, the football played was of the highest order. Great football, great crossing. The big man there lurking on the back post. He can see glory, and Kennett, the opposite captain's made a great retrieving header, but the football that led up to it was sensational.
What a piece of defending that was. Notman's corner. Well claimed by Vasson.
He must have caught every corner, I would think, Vasson.
The whistle has gone. 90 minutes are up, and for the first time since the famous Charlton 4, Sunderland 4 playoff final, we have extra time. If it was exciting, boy, what is it now? 0-0, and there's more.
Extra time, the winners will be decided by the taking of penalty kicks.
13 First Division playoff finals. 4 of them now have gone to penalties. Karen Brady on the edge of that seat. Delia Smith we saw before. All associated with either club, simply holding their breath. And by the way, extra time periods in this fixture haven't been dull either. In 95, Fabian de Freitas won it for Bolton against Reading in minute number 118. Steve Claridge for Leicester against Palace the following year, minute 120. And of course, Charlton-Sunderland went all the way to an extended penalty shootout. Don't expect things to happen in a hurry here. Easton. McVeigh. Oh, Granger's missed it. Notman has it. It's Alex Notman for Norwich. It's Notman's cross. It's Roberts! The big man, the Welshman in Cardiff for Delia and the boss. Norwich stare at the Premiership.
Have a look at Roberts there. He's injured. He's gone down injured. Granger won't be happy letting the ball go beyond him. Measured his crossing, but that's what he's in the side for. He needs crosses. He thrives on crosses. That's a good one. You perhaps should say Martin Granger might, having made the initial slip, get back and shut the cross off. But that is a textbook header. That's what he wants, the ammunition.
Hughes. John. Well, I did say don't expect things to happen in a hurry here. And Stern John.
But it's incredible, you know, Peter, in extra time, where there's a momentary lapse or something, where the concentration goes in that little break they have. But it's amazing how many games, immediately after the restart, a goal is scored.
Ewan Roberts scored that goal. By way of caution for Norwich.
That is a magnificent header. Keeper no chance. Question marks, obviously, the cross-field ball that Granger let go by him. And maybe they probably said, should have closed the cross off. But what fascinated me, as the move was developing, Roberts actually went down with an injury, saw that Notman had got good possession and decided he wanted to be on the end of it, and on the end of it he was.
Just a word of caution for Norwich. 5 of the last 8 winners in the First Division playoff final have gone behind at some stage. Birmingham are behind. It's Devlin for Horsfield. Drury took it away from him. Easton clear. Tired clearance though. Only at Devlin. Carter jumped. Mackay saw it out. Back in by Granger. Back out by Mackay. Taken up by Holt. Won by Hughes, who lost it to McVeigh.
I think what Norwich must do now is make sure they keep the ball a bit and not let Birmingham have the momentum going again. I actually felt just before the end of normal time that Birmingham were the stronger side. They looked to be getting the game going. It's only a game, Daly, behave yourself.
She's looking positively unwell.
Couldn't be food poisoning, could it?
Well, she took all the wives out last night for what was intended to be a fairly boisterous evening. I feel sorry for the restaurateur who saw her walk through the doors and thought, oh my word, I'd better be on form tonight. Horsfield holding it up.
Nothing sure. Birmingham aren't out of this. Particularly if Norwich fall back into that little shell and invite pressure on them. Birmingham will come forward, load crosses in. I think from Norwich's point of view, their best bet's to get people like, and they've got the players that can do it. Gary Holt, Mulrine and Paul McVeigh, get them on the ball and try and deny possession and momentum from the Blues.
Roberts climbing with Johnson. Tebbley across. Free kick against Ewan Roberts. Kenner. Drury got up well. Carter followed up. Handball against Ewan Roberts.
Yes, it gives Birmingham a chance to build up again. I think they're taking too much pressure, Norwich.
Devlin. Deep one towards Lazaridis. Nudged away from him by Alex Notman, who's cross for Ewan Roberts was ideal.
Oh, he picked it out, and I mean, Roberts made up the ground. It was a textbook header. If you're in the Blues camp, you say, oh no, did we defend it well? But we've got a chance to its own here.
Granger's corner. Roberts got there ahead of Devlin. Fed it up for McVeigh. Roberts. Easton. Holt. Mackay across in front of John. Easton. Ewan Roberts with the moment that matters so far. Notman did very well. Paul Martin Granger had made the original slip. Roberts made him pay, and look what it meant to the VIPs. We're only half an hour from the Premiership, you know. Seven years away. On the same weekend when Ipswich Town went down. And it's worth reiterating that were it not for the Ipswich chairman David Sheepshanks, who put on pressure to revert to goal difference instead of goals scored, Norwich wouldn't have made the playoffs. It would have been Burnley. So close, so often. 3 semi-final defeats, 2 of those on penalties. A League Cup final defeat here on penalties. Extra time again, and they're suffering again. John. Carter. Brian Hughes. Easton. Bit early to be going into the corners.
Yeah, particularly with the front players they've got now, they could maybe do with now bringing Nielsen back on to use his pace over the top, so they can just run the clock down, knock it into corner flags.
Gray touching it off. Easton forward. Well, if they were playing a rugby international here and someone was kicking for touch, that might be more acceptable. Nigel Worthington is a more progressive football man than that, though.
I think the more they hand the ball back to Birmingham, it limits their chances. I think Norwich have got to try and get hold of the ball and deny it to Birmingham. They keep letting Birmingham come at them. It's sure as anything Birmingham will make another chance.
Hughes. Carter. Born and bred a Birmingham fan. A babe in arms when they last won promotion to the top flight. Granger. Lifted in at Horsfield and taken by Green.
But I don't think I've seen a team, and it's obviously preconceived, I don't think I've ever seen a team for a long time, even if like the Italian teams of a few years ago, go as deep as Norwich do. They get loads of bodies in their own penalty box, and they're virtually right back on top of the keeper, which does in effect, it invites pressure, it invites high balls in it, but they're obviously comfortable with it. It's the way they've played all season, I would guess. I just feel against Birmingham, with the front players Birmingham, you're better trying to squeeze them higher up. Because they haven't got genuine pace over the top at all, Birmingham. You can afford to push them up to the halfway line.
Easton. Nudging it down for Holt. Fleming. Flag up. Holt coming back, or McVeigh going forward. There is a real blue nose.
Just saying that's what they call him, blue nose. He's carried it on a bit wide, isn't it?
Aimed up at Horsfield, who is penalised again for backing in, and who's exasperated at another decision going against him.
Yeah, I think he's been a bit harshly penalised on that one. I felt it was always his ball. He can get his own ground.
Up went Teberley. Drury forward. And Roberts charging down now. Some have always considered him a battering ram centre forward, but the focus now is on Darryl Such, East Anglian boy, Norwich's longest serving player, the only one who has played for them in the Premiership, who went down with them, who was part of that great European run. He will be with us soon. McVeigh, well, I gather, will be giving way. Notman. Granger stepping in. No one will want to get this back more than Martin Granger. Free kick in favour of Stern John.
Just wondering where he's going to play, Darryl Such, because he's a jack of all trades. I've seen him play in so many positions. Always thought he was going to be an absolute top player, you know, when he started off with that group with Sutton and all those. But the lad going off's had a hell of a game. Not so much in the latter stages, but in the first half, they had a magical spell in the first half that really got Norwich back into the game.
And here comes a man who has played for Norwich in the Olympic Stadium Munich and in the San Siro. And here he is in the Millennium Cardiff, and he would probably consider this to be the biggest game of those three. And his first job is to go over and mark Stan Lazaridis as Granger hits the free kick. Kenner. John. Horsfield! Equaliser! It's going to the wire again. And Jeff Horsfield, whose goal took them into the playoffs, has them back on terms in the playoff final.
That's what I've been saying, though, Peter. They go back, they invite pressure, one ball in, one knockdown header, and Horsfield's in on it. And there it is, it's stood in there. We've seen that so many times, a knockdown header. And I thought for a minute the keeper had almost made the same save as he made in the first half. But Horsfield's in on it, but The more you go back, the more you invite pressure. And I think Daryl Such has been brought on for that reason, to sort of try and block off headers.
And here goes Stern John. And Horsfield. Aimed at John again, away by Mackay. Such with Lazaridis. Norwich were in the Premiership for 12 minutes. They'd only been in the playoff picture for the last 15 minutes of the season. And now it is, as a greater man than me once said, up for grabs. She can jump for joy at last. Roberts.
Big test of Norwich's character now. Whether psychologically they can bring themselves back into it, get themselves up for it. You know, start again, regroup. They're still in the frame, even if it means going to penalties. But always felt Birmingham, if they were allowed to build up pressure, were capable of scoring that type of goal.
John. Devlin. Kenner. Horsfield. Kenner. Oh! And neither Carter nor Lazaridis nor John in the middle, each of whom was half a yard away from it, could get a stud on it.
Well, certainly now Birmingham are right wide in. There's Horsfield, clumsy challenge really, but McKenna backing up, fires it across. A little bit of a grimace at one or two. I don't think he could really have expected any of the other lads to have gotten in the end of that. But Birmingham certainly pumped up now.
Birmingham were last promoted to the top flight in 1985, relegated a year later. Twice since then they've dipped into the third grade of English football. They have a free kick to defend now. Easton with the free kick. Roberts waiting for it with Mackay. And Roberts climbing. And Tedley getting up with him. Horsfield from deep. Granger. John. Hughes. Lovely stuff from Birmingham. Lazaridis is offside. Good shout. Colour the grass helped the referee's assistant. Easton. Mulray. Drury. Roberts. Johnson there ahead of Notman. Drury. Half-time, extra time. You tell me who's going to win this. Well, 6 previous playoff finals have been decided on penalties, but only one of those for a place in the Premiership, when Sasa Ilic was a hero for Charlton against Sunderland at Wembley. The last at any level to be decided from the spot, Manchester City's dramatic comeback against Gillingham, which of course was a second division game. Somebody has 15 minutes to prevent Birmingham from going to a penalty shootout at the Millennium Stadium for the second time in 2 visits. Forward by Easton for Norwich. Out by Tevely. Kenner. About 3 lifetimes ago, Ron, I asked you if you had a hunch. Do you have a hunch?
Same hunch as I had at the start. Penalties.
Notman. And it's going to prove to be one of the great hunches if it's right.
I think, to be fair, if you're asking me now who I thought looked the stronger side, I certainly think Birmingham have looked the stronger side psychologically. I think Norwich invited them, you know, maybe settle for a 1-0 too early, try to build and allow too much pressure to be built on them.
Granger, no man more relieved at Birmingham's equaliser than him. Unfortunate though he was to lose his footing at a key moment. Kenton thumping it against Horsfield. Did like the way Graham Barber was talking to Jeff Horsfield during half-time and extra time, and presumably having a word about these decisions backing in or pushing by the centre-half, however you interpret it. He's managed the players well here today. He's tried to keep his cards in his pocket. And that battle between Mackay and Horsfield has probably given him more headaches than anything else.
He's given the defender far more. Normally referees in that case, you know, they tend to go 50-50. At the end of the day, you'd probably say both, you know, that they give as many free kicks against the central defenders as the centre forward, but he has given the majority of free kicks against Horsfield today. And yet might well have given him a penalty that was a very, very close call indeed.
Yes, Birmingham will point to that.
Not if they win, they won't. Only if they lose.
Green fought for Roberts. Hasn't he held that up well? Easton, Drury, Notman. Easton aimed in again at Roberts and claimed again by Nico Vasson. Up in the air in a tired manner by Fleming. Kenton. Such. Roberts. Such. Mulrine. Kenton. Such again, who wears his Norwich heart on his sleeve. He was actually born in Lowestoft, Suffolk, but would be identified with no club other than this one. Forward by Teverley. Azaridis won't get there.
I just wonder whether Nigel might regret his timing, and it's all right with hindsight, when he took McVeigh off, because McVeigh can at least get hold of the ball, buy his midfield time, take a bit of pressure off the back four. I felt the game was coming back at them too quickly. The other thing I mentioned earlier, I'm very surprised how deep they've been defending. I think it's cost them the goal at the end of the day.
Easton, Roberts, Easton, Holt, Drury, Roberts. This is where minds as well as bodies have to be concentrated. Teverley, shape kept, discipline kept. And Fleming has kept his discipline and made a good firm challenge. And Easton's lifted it forward. And Notman's taking it up. And Darryl Such has it. Azaridis took it from him, and Mulrine took it from him, and Granger took it from him, and Holt took it from him. There are some tired legs out there. Kenton.
It's amazing the different expectancies as well of each club. I mean, at the start of the season, Birmingham, the expectancy was from Birmingham's point of view, yes, this has got to be our year. I keep hearing from Norwich where they were very happy to be in the top half of the league. Now, they're 15 minutes away from possibly being in the Premiership.
Horsfield offside. Yeah, Nigel Worthington said to me at the start of the week, just being here is a bonus. We really can enjoy it as if it was a showpiece, a day out. I have to say I don't believe that he can be feeling that now. Roberts, hauled over by Teverley. Norwich City free kick.
I think that's what Norwich have done to their front players. They've got a better service in like that, always favouring the strikers than perhaps Birmingham did.
Heavily penalised. Vasson with the problem.
Now, we've talked about, earlier on, we talked about Granger. This kid can flip him over the wall, Mulrine.
Easton there would be a left-footed option. Mulrine is favourite.
He can tuck them over the wall. They'll have to be on the guard here, the custodian will.
Roberts in the wall, making a nuisance of himself. Phil Mulrine. Clawed out by Vasson. Went over to the wall to the unexpected top corner.
Yeah, maybe with a touch more pace than he might have done, Vasson there. That's quite a good save.
Notman's corner. Mackay again round the back. It's a goal kick.
Certainly a better quality corner. At least they kept it away from the goalkeeper that time.
Elkie Mackay is a candidate to collect the cup if Norwich do go up today. He and Ewan Roberts might share the duties. Even Neil Emblin, the unfortunate club captain who got injured in August, he could join the queue. Andy Johnson's joining the drama. Well, now then, anyone who watched last year's League Cup final, and it's the goal-scoring hero Jeff Horsfield who's going off here. Anyone who watched last year's League Cup final will have their heart in their mouth now, because you will recall that it was this young boy, so sadly, who had the decisive penalty saved and cost Birmingham that trophy. The thought of him stepping up in similar circumstances frankly frightens me, so I shudder to think what it does to him.
But it is amazing how the game throws up certain circumstances and quirks, and you just wonder if it does go to a shootout, whether Jim Johnson will take one, and B, I don't think he'll go for a placement. I think he'll go for a bang, but some playing to do before then.
I think we can get Stuart Pearce on the line. Steve Bruce will fill him with positive thoughts, if he has to. John. Easton. Notman. Kenton. He's lost it to Lazaridis, who shuffled it on for Johnson. Devlin. It's Devlin's cross. Out by Mulrine. Down for Hughes. It's bounced out for Drury, who scraped it away from Devlin, only to Kenner. Back in for Johnson. Easton's firm tackle on Devlin, who has stayed down. Tebele. Kenner. Hughes. Kenner. Johnson. Oh, Mackay gave it to Hughes, and Hughes went over Easton. Nothing doing. Out for Notman. They're falling like flies right now. Darren Carter was responsible for the latest indiscretion, and he has been booked. Foul on Drury, and the ball was nearly out of frame. The second Birmingham player on a yellow. It ought not to matter in the great scheme of things. Forward by Kenton. Someone has 5 minutes to be a hero. Someone has 5 minutes to be perhaps a villain. And you only say again that even in advance you already start to feel sorry for the losers. Roberts won the free kick and goes forward to meet it. Drifted in by Mulrine. Mackay couldn't find a route through the bodies. And it was fun 2 hours ago. It's gone beyond fun now. They were determined to have a good day out. And they will have done. The atmosphere on the streets in the 3 or 4 hours prior to the game was really nice. Sunny day, everybody happy. But it matters more than that now. Forward by Hughes. Johnson. Little shot from Easton.
Yeah,
Birmingham free kick.
Impetuous that. He's played quite well the second half, Clint Easton, but that was impetuous. Too anxious. Johnson going nowhere. He's given him a chance to build real pressure up now.
You can forgive a player almost anything at this stage. Goodness knows their senses must be scrambled. Another couple of blue noses. Sniffing a goal perhaps. Right in front of them here. Granger's free kick, off the post! And out by Roberts to Lazaridis. And behind by Easton. Michael Johnson, half an inch away from promotion.
And he is at that ball's whipped in, that's almost undefendable, and that's a great header. Norwich breathe again.
It was off the very corner of the post. It was in through their eyes. And his. 150 seconds of the season left. Granger's corner. All the way through again to Lazaridis. Lazaridis drives it in. Carter tries to turn. Holt takes it away. Kenton needs to get it clear from Norwich's perspective, and Holt ultimately does.
Well, that's, as I say, that's almost undefendable. Right trajectory, right area. He gets in front of Holt. Great downward header.
Charged down by Notman. Johnson has defending to do. Gather there will be no added time at the end of this period of extra time, which means we're 90 seconds from penalties. Drury, Roberts. Perhaps Norwich's last chance to save themselves from that awful experience. Fleming, Mulrine, Notman. Drury. Roberts. Easton. Went for glory. Was 4 or 5 yards from it.
I think of the two, I think that Norwich will be the happier team to go to penalties, because I felt the pendulum, I thought it had swung completely round to Birmingham once they equalised, and I thought then Norwich's best chance might be penalties. Blues have incidentally got quite a history, haven't they, on penalties? They've been involved over the last few years on quite a few penalty shootouts.
And they've lost them, Ron.
I know.
They've lost their last 4 penalty shootouts on a row.
But they are in the lucky dressing room.
Became lucky yesterday. Roberts. Devlin went over. Graham Barber waved it on. Carter, 15 seconds left. Johnson. Andy Johnson climbing, Kenton getting up. The final whistle going. It is 1-1 after extra time, and we are about to experience a £40 million penalty shootout. Can you bear it? Birmingham have lost their last 4 penalty shootouts, 3 in very recent history, which have cost them promotion, 2 of which have cost them promotion, 1 in the League Cup final here. Norwich haven't been involved in a penalty shootout since October '98, when they lost a fairly low-profile League Cup tie to Bolton. But Birmingham will be happy to have won this toss, not just because it's at their end, that's a nice touch between 2 keepers who haven't put a foot wrong, but also because they lost their penalty shootout here last year at the other end. Who would you want to lead the way but him? Ewan Roberts, whose goal for 12 minutes had Norwich in the Premiership. Nico Vasson has saved a Norwich penalty in the league already this season from Gary Holt. That might be a contest resumed later in the shootout. First it is Roberts. The talisman scores.
Very calm, very tidy. No nerves, just tucked it away, keep it going the wrong way.
13 goals in the season, a 14th today and a penalty to boot. Stern John, whose goal at Millwall brought Birmingham here. Robert Green getting a last instruction from Graham Barber. I'm watching you. Don't move off your line too soon. Goalkeepers can move laterally these days, remember. His save at the end of the first half was superhuman. More heroics, perhaps. Stern John. In the postage stamp. Bottom left.
Close, very close. He side-foots it. The keeper's nearly got a hand to it.
Phil Mulrine, who brings style to Norwich. A Manchester United student, a Northern Ireland international. Got one of the key goals on the final day against Stockport. But has recently had a penalty saved against Gillingham. Only 7 weeks ago, Phil Mulrine failed from the spot. And does so again. Great save from Vasson. Advantage Birmingham.
Yes, he struck it fairly straight. Vasson was actually on his way and he's caught it with, if you like, with his wrong hand. Still had the presence of mind to keep his eye on the ball.
Drained. All of them drained. Paul Devlin, who signed for Birmingham City for the second time only this week. And scores for them.
That's a cracking penalty. Looking nowhere, but at the back of the ball, hits it as hard as he can. Keeper's gone the right way. Not a chance.
Daryl Such, not a player on the field to whom this day means more. He is Norwich. They look to him. All his career, a Carrow Road man, a Canary. Daryl Such has rolled it wide, and it's fading away for Norwich. And that is so sad. And that smile from Delia is so weak. And you feel for this guy.
Yeah, he's trying to tuck it right in the corner. He's tuck it too wide. I think the keeper would have had it if it had been on target.
Which means if Birmingham score now, then Norwich can't afford to miss again. Stan Lazaridis did score in both of last year's shootouts against Preston and Liverpool. And scores now, and Birmingham are on the brink.
The keeper's gone very, very early on this one. He's gone very early on Green, very early. Stan Lazaridis can virtually pick his spot, and pick his spot he does.
Is he watching, or is he looking the other way?
The game swung backwards and forwards, but I can't see it swinging again, can you?
If Clint Easton misses,
they're going to need a miracle.
He has to score. He has to score. He scored just. Vasson nearly kept it out. But Darren Carter is the man who comes forward to take the £40 million kick. 18 years old, a baby.
Bottle, isn't it? That is bottle.
A mere baby when Birmingham City were last promoted to the top flight in 1985. A lifetime ago. Darren Carter for the Premiership. The Premiership! And how fitting that it should be a true blue born and bred who took them there.
I thought he showed tremendous nerve coming up to take that, and he struck it beautifully.
The Blues are back. Well done, Steve Bruce. What an achievement for him. And well done, Darren Carter, who became a first-team footballer this January.
Can I ask all the Birmingham fans, attention please?
And how you feel for them, how they squeezed into the playoffs with one of the last kicks of their season. They had a lead here given them by Ewan Roberts. They made their supporters proud. But it's Birmingham who go up. And next year's Premiership will have second city representation, not just from Aston Villa, but also from the club that bears the city's name. A word for Nigel Worthington, Ron, I think.
Yes, his team's done it very, very well. He can look back on this today with pride. He wanted to win because he's a competitor, but his team hasn't let him down today. They played well, from, as you say, for a long time in the game. They were well involved and they've given a good performance.
For so long, the downtrodden underdogs, the self-mocking, unloved, below-stairs artisans of the West Midlands. This time they have kept right on to the very end of the road, and 16 years and 8 managers since last they did so, Birmingham City will play amongst the elite of the English game. Jeff Kenner has never collected a cup before. Steve Bruce has never known anything like this. But he is a hero in his city. He's a man who's won 3 titles with Manchester United, FA Cups, League Cups. One of his most prized possessions is his Man of the Match trophy with Norwich in the 1985 League Cup final, but he has broken their hearts here, and he's going to speak now with Gary.
Steve, an incredible moment for you and the club. What a game!
Well, it was an unbelievable game, end to end. I have to say to Norwich, it's a cruel way to finish like that. I thought the game was magnificent itself, and the players give it everything. Thankfully, we've had that little bit of luck what you need in a penalty shootout.
Yes, and an 18-year-old kid had to take the kick that mattered.
He's probably been the catalyst of our season. We threw him in. As somebody 18, he's come in. He was as cool as a cucumber. And what a great technique to go and do it.
With so much £40 million at stake, and they went one up. Norwich
Gary,
did.
I don't care about the money.
No, okay.
So at a club like Birmingham, 17 years, I'm absolutely just delighted.
Yeah, but you were trailing 1-0 in extra time.
Hey, I think we've only lost 1 in 17 matches. They've showed that courage is incredible. They fought to the death, and I'm proud of every one of them.
And what a run. I mean, you were out of the playoffs in March, out of the playoff positions, and you 13 wins on the bounce.
They've done remarkably well, the players. I'm delighted for them, the club, the supporters. I just hope they keep the exuberance and keep it behind the pitch so we can celebrate properly. All credit to me players, they're fantastic.
That was great for you, well done.
Thank you very much.
I mean, I was there last year at the Women's Cup final, sitting up there in the stand, and a year on, I'm actually playing this dream come true, and to score the winning penalty. I mean, I tell you all, I don't think I'll sleep for days now. I won't sleep for days. Unbelievable, mate, unbelievable.
Jeff, did all the lads think the chance had gone away? No, we've been very difficult to beat since Christmas. The belief is there. We keep our heads up even if we go a goal down. And we showed a lot of character today. A lot of teams could have folded. deserved conceding in the first minute, but we went on, kept at our game, and we got our result in the end.
What does it say about this lad here, a young boy to step up?
The character is absolutely unbelievable. For such a young lad on such a big stage to take a penalty with that composure is absolutely fantastic. He's got a hell of a future ahead of him, and we're glad we've got him.
Darren, what does it mean to everyone to be in the Premiership next season?
Oh, I mean, you can hear the Blues fans. They've been waiting for this for a very, very long time, me included, and to be in the top flight, I'm speechless, mate. I was a fan, and I mean, I know how much it means to him, and it's just absolutely superb. I mean, from my point of view, my first season, in professional football, and I'll be playing in the Premiership next year. It's absolutely unbelievable, unbelievable.
Well done, go and enjoy it.
Cheers, thank you.
Paul, a local lad from Erdington in Birmingham, you scored a vital penalty when you had to.
Yeah, I mean, finding it very hard to talk at the minute. Just fantastic.
But I mean, Norwich had you under the cosh for a long period of that game as well.
Yeah, they played very well. We had 2 great chances first half, and so did they. 1-0 down in extra time, but we showed the spirit that those fans are showing now. We come back and we won it.
Well, you followed the club as a boy and as a player. This lot have suffered, haven't they? 60 years out of the big time, so many disappointments.
Yeah, they deserve it. Just look at them. They deserve it, each and every one of them. They deserve it.
How are you?
Emotional.
Nico, so often in the past it hasn't worked out for Birmingham, but all right this time.
It's absolutely brilliant. When we got 1-0 behind, I thought this can't be it. But credit to the lads, we kept going, we kept believing in ourselves, and eventually we got our reward.
What sort of character does it take to come back from a goal down like that?
A lot of character, a lot of belief. The gaffer stressed that we were capable of doing it, and we did it. And I'm so proud of all of us, and so happy for all the club.
And getting a taste of this must make you really hungry for the Premiership now.
Oh, definitely. I mean, this club is so huge. It's too big for Division 1, and hopefully we can be a certainty in the Premier League next year. I know the club has got the resources and all. We got the fans. I mean, we got everything to be a success in the Premier League. Okay, thanks.
Well, even for the oldest of these players, it's half a lifetime ago that this club was playing amongst the elite. For some, it would be a blurred memory of their childhood. For others, not even that. In a way, it's a bit anomalous to hand out a trophy today. After all, the real winners have been on holiday for 3 weeks. West Brom came second and get no such treatment. But these last gasp graduates from the Football League, surely today, do deserve this formal ceremony. Damian Johnson there never got on, but played his part. Boy, did Darren Carter get on. When he's old and grey, he'll tell this story. It's a while since there has been so much happiness associated with Birmingham City, but it is crystal clear now as Jeff Kenner, captain, and Steve Vickers, club captain, step forward to accept the trophy. But after all these years, Birmingham City are back. Birmingham City are in the Premiership.
Congratulations, Birmingham City. Next year, it's the Premiership.
They ended their season on a 13-match unbeaten run. It has taken them all the way into the Premiership, and if momentum counts for anything, Rob, then you would consider them at least to have a chance in the Premiership, and that game against Aston Villa is what many of these thousands of fans have been living for.
Yeah, I mean, they have the potential. The fans have waited long enough. They're a tremendous bunch of fans. I actually think that Villa will be looking forward to that because, I think local derbies stimulate the whole of the area, and now Villa have got Blues, they've got West Brom back up there. And, it's been a long haul road, but they've stuck at it.
The medal means so much, the trophy means so much, but in a way, today's rewards are not tangible rewards. For these players, this is a career moment, a career turning moment. They will play at a level about which prior to this they have only dreamed. And they will watch at a level which, certainly for those who are in their dad's arms, they have never watched before. Special pictures, special times for Birmingham City. They, once again, are an elite club.